Hello, everyone. Frank Rumbauskas here, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Get Hot Leads and Fast and Easy Sales with LinkedIn. Because I've got so much content to go through today and to present to you, I am not going to do my usual 5-minute wait for the latecomers to get here. If anybody's late, they can get the replay recording and the PDF, which will go out via email tomorrow. So I want to welcome everyone. Good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. In addition to our usual customers in US, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, I saw people signed up from Hong Kong, Japan, South Africa, you name it. So we've got people all over the world on this webinar, and I'm really excited. So I am going to get to it because I've got a lot to get into today. Like I said, if anyone can't stay for the full webinar, it will go out via replay recording and PDF tomorrow. And again, this is a totally new, revised, updated, and a much, much longer of the How to Get Hot Leads and Fast and Easy Sales webinar than you've ever seen in the past. So with that, let's jump into it. So why LinkedIn? Well, LinkedIn, very simply, is the largest sales network in the world anywhere. It is the largest business social network, and in fact, in my more involved courses like the LinkedIn Selling System and my new upcoming LinkedIn course that I'm working on, I say, so LinkedIn is not even a social network at all. I think that's a misnomer. LinkedIn is a business networking site. It is the largest business networking venue in the world. I've always said LinkedIn is the ultimate in business social media, and I would update that now to say it's really all there is in business social media. It is the king, and Jeffrey Gitomer likes to say social media is the new cold call. Not sure if I agree with that 100%, but if you've got to cold prospect on the internet, LinkedIn is the place to do it. So let me talk about why this webinar is necessary and why you need to know this stuff. There's a marketing firm called CR Cards. They're based out of Australia, and they did a survey of over 300 small and medium-sized business owners and then enterprise and corporate C-level executives and top-level VPs and managers. And they asked them, what are your most liked and most disliked methods of contact by a salesperson? So no surprise, they said cold calling is the most hated form of contact by a salesperson, but big surprise, and the reason you really need to pay attention today and review this material and really learn how to use LinkedIn inside and out is because after cold calling, they said their second most hated method of approach by a salesperson was LinkedIn spam. And LinkedIn spam is a new term. It's something that didn't even exist a couple of years ago, but now it's become a problem. As I know very well, when I do training, if I'm working with my private mastermind coaching clients, and I log into my LinkedIn account to give them an example of something, and they see, I think it's 1,900 plus unread messages. People say, don't you check your LinkedIn inbox? I say, yeah, I do, but I skip over the spam, and that's how much spam is coming into my LinkedIn box. So because so many salespeople out there are connecting, or I should have said, trying to connect with prospects on LinkedIn, most are failing. You can very easily outdo them by learning this material. So step one is knowing what your goal is. What is your end game in marketing with LinkedIn? The problem with networking, the reason why most salespeople fail at networking and go as far as wasting time and money, having a few cocktails at a chamber mixer or getting ripped off, paying for a Leads Club membership is because they don't know what their end game is. They don't know the goal. Salespeople fail to recognize in advance the kinds of people who can help them achieve their goals. And so what you want to do is reverse engineer your networking. Know ahead of time, and this applies both to online networking on LinkedIn as well as to offline networking. Doesn't matter what your venue is, whether it's meetup groups, which are my personal favorite, along with Rotary clubs, my other personal favorite, chambers, Leads clubs, definitely not. But no matter what your networking venue is, you've got to know what your end goal is, and you've got to reverse engineer that and figure out and answer the question, who is your ideal customer? What are your ideal customers' worries and problems? This is how you reverse engineer that. Put yourself into that person's shoes and literally know what that person wants. What do they worry about? What keeps them up at night? If you can answer those questions, you can define your ideal customer and then use the information I'm going to give you in this 2-hour presentation today to find that person on LinkedIn, very accurately laser target that person, make the connection, take the relationship offline and turn it into a sale. And if you do your job right and follow up correctly, a long-term business relationship. So what are their fears? What are they trying to avoid? So what are they trying to stay away from? What are they going toward? What are their goals? What do they want to accomplish? Not just in business, but in life. And how can you help them to do that? See, my business is very successful because I know the number one concern for any salesperson is to get leads and to do it without cold calling. And that's why that's what I strictly focus on. I don't teach much else about selling. It's because I've reverse engineered the number one most pressing concern for salespeople. As a salesperson, your biggest pain point is cold calling. The thing you want the most is more leads. That's what I teach. That's why I've got the most successful business website in the world right now. It's because I've reverse engineered what people want. So the place to start on LinkedIn is your profile. A lot of people ask, should I work on my profile? Should I work on a company page? You got to have a company page if you have a business or if you're self-employed. It's like having a Facebook page or even something as basic as any Google search result. So you got to have it, but the action happens in the LinkedIn profile. The LinkedIn profile is what gets found in Google. It's what gets found in LinkedIn search. You got to have a company page because not having a company page nowadays is akin to not having a website. It makes you look behind the times, but the profile is where all the action happens. So for this portion of the webinar, I'm going to dive deep into optimizing your LinkedIn profile so people find it and people start contacting you. And also so that when you send people to that profile or after you call them or after you have an appointment and they Google you, and guess what? All prospects do. They're going to find your LinkedIn profile and it's going to be set up to pre-sell them to buy from you. So forget about the typical LinkedIn headlines. For a LinkedIn headline, almost everyone uses a job title. Now, in some cases, it's a requirement. A lot of financial companies, financial advisory groups, because of compliance rules, I forget which company it was, but I saw an example. Every single person was something like life insurance agent at New York Life. Every single person in the company, and that may or not be the correct example, but you get my point. You don't want to do that. You want to forget about job titles, forget about salesperson, account executive, VP of sales, get rid of that. LinkedIn gives you the ability to enter a huge amount of content in your headline and in your title that will get you found. Nobody searches for account executive, but what they do search for is the product or service, or even better, the benefit that you offer. And that's what you want in your LinkedIn headline. You always include your city or your sales territory. And you want to brainstorm and think about multiple problem-solving ideas for job titles. Max out the space that LinkedIn gives you, and they give you a lot of space. So most people, let's say I were a salesperson, it would say Frank Rumbauskas, account executive, Frank Rumbauskas, salesperson at nevercoldcall.com. That doesn't tell anybody anything. So my headline in descending order of importance is Frank Rumbauskas, Dallas sales trainer, keynote speaker, lead generation, business marketing, search engine optimization pro. Right now I'm working on optimizing this further to talk more about business coaching and consulting as that becomes the focus of my business as far as the offline part of it goes. And so as you can see here, I've maxed out the amount of characters that LinkedIn gives me. So what you want to do is make a list in descending order, everything you sell, every product, every service, most importantly, every solution that you solve and every benefit that you can provide, and put them in descending order in your headline. So going back to that New York Life Insurance Company example, a good headline might be someone who provides peace of mind, security provider, security blanket, something like that, something that actually speaks to the benefit, not the fact that they're an agent at New York Life Insurance Company. The next thing you see there is Dallas-Fort Worth area. And let me tell you why that's important. When I first set up LinkedIn, I put in Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas has about 2 million people. So what happens is it restricts the search results for LinkedIn to people who are geographically located inside the city of Dallas when they do the search. By changing that from Dallas, Texas to Dallas-Fort Worth area, I changed my target market from 2 million people to over 7 million people. So now everyone in Dallas, all the suburbs, everyone in Fort Worth, and then everything in between, which is known locally as the mid-cities, will find my LinkedIn profile when they search for any of those search terms that you see there in my headline. So that's why it's very, very important to not just put your city. For example, I used to live in Southern California, Newport Beach. So if I put in Newport Beach, California, Orange County, California, that'd be a very limited area because 90% of the paid speaking and consulting services I did were either in Los Angeles for the most part, to a lesser degree in San Diego. I even did some speaking up in Bakersfield. So you change that to the entire Southern California region. I don't know if you could still do it. It's been a while since I've checked, but if you want your area to be the entire United States, put in all zeros for your zip code. Don't quote me on that because I haven't tried it in a while, but last time I checked, you could put in 5 zeros for your zip code and then your area shows up as United States. Next thing is category. LinkedIn doesn't give you many. I couldn't find one that really described what Never Cold Call is. So I went with professional training and coaching. Before that, I had it set to online media, but that is extremely vague. I mean, online media could be any website in the world, whether it's nevercoldcall.com all the way to yahoo.com or google.com. So I changed out to professional coaching and training. Current positions, you see I have 2 current positions. You should have 5, and I'm going to explain why in a few minutes. But I've got FJ Advisors, Inc., which is the corporation that owns nevercoldcall.com. And then, of course, ROI Media is my consulting business. And so I've got 2 positions there, and in a few minutes, I'm going to show you why. But just to drill down further into the headline to talk about why the headline I've just given you is so effective, it starts out with my city first. So even though you've already got your city or your metro area specified as your location, to maximize your search results, if you sell copiers in Des Moines, Iowa, you want your headline should start with Des Moines copier or copiers or something like that. Des Moines reprographics, whatever category is used to talk about what you sell. And so it starts off with that. Put your city first, and then in your first most profitable or easiest to sell service or product, whatever you want to sell the most of is the next thing that comes in your headline, and then the second most important thing, and then the third most important thing, and so on. And so you go in descending order. You see that I maxed out the headline. I wish they made them even longer. And my headline includes other areas of expertise that my ideal clients are most likely searching for. Now, search engine optimization is not something I still offer through my business, but it's something that my ideal clients are searching for. People are searching for SEO when they really need a business consultant like me to come in and say, I've looked at your marketing. You don't need SEO. You need direct mail, or you need some other form of direct response marketing. And so that's where even putting something in my headline that I don't provide anymore, it still makes sense, because the people who are searching for that are still the people who will buy the things that I do sell from me. So the bottom line is you need to max out your LinkedIn headline, include as many areas of expertise in descending order of importance that your ideal customers are looking for. And like I said, they don't even have to be things that you sell. All that matters is that your ideal customers are looking for them. So moving on to your LinkedIn summary, the next part of your LinkedIn profile. Rule number 1 is max it out, because content is king. Rule number 2, C number 1, max it out. You get found in LinkedIn and on Google, because guess what? LinkedIn gets indexed or ranks very highly on Google. So by optimizing your LinkedIn profile, you're optimizing your Google exposure. You get found by having as much content on your page as you can. We started off with your headline, which you've seen, and it continues now with your LinkedIn summary. Now, your LinkedIn summary, first thing you don't want to do is write a description of yourself in the third person. People like people, so come across as human. Rule number 3, write in the first person. Don't write a description that says Frank Rumbauskas is the New York Times bestseller, author of this. He's trained over 100,000 people, spoken all over the world, blah, blah, blah. Write it as, hi, my name is Frank Rumbauskas, blah, blah, here's what I do, and then go into it from there. Again, you want to max out the space given to you by LinkedIn. I think it's currently 1,500 words. Correct me if I'm wrong. What you want to do is list, again, this is where keywords come into play. List as many relevant products and services as you can that your ideal customers want to buy. So what you want to do in your LinkedIn summary is forget about the specialty style sort of list that people love to include. So instead of doing bullet points, if I could do this, 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 and this, you want to be conversational instead. Pretend you're writing to an old friend. You're writing a letter to an old friend who you haven't talked to in a while, and you're updating them on what's happening in your life today, specifically your business life and what it is that you can do for people. Always include your contact info, your phone, and your email address so people can always reach you. You want to be reachable. I am not reachable for reasons that will be the topic of another webinar, but the difference is, as a best-selling author, I've got people kind of hammering at the door trying to get a hold of me because they want to hire me. So that's a different situation. If you don't have people banging down at your door, you wouldn't be on this webinar in the first place if you did. What you want to do is make sure that you are reachable. Have your desk phone, your cell number. Probably don't want to use your home phone, but you want to have your personal email address, not just your work address. Make it easy for people to reach you. Once again, always, always, always keep your ideal customers' challenges, desires, needs, wants, fears, worries, everything else that could possibly perk their attention, get them interested. Keep all that stuff in mind when writing your LinkedIn summary. Now I'm going to move into positions. If the slide ever updates, what I do for these webinars is bring my laptop from home and I log in as a guest and watch what you're seeing. It can take a good 10 seconds from the time I forward the slide on my computer to when it actually updates on the audience side. So that's why I'm sitting here with these long pauses waiting for the slides to update. But going into positions, LinkedIn positions are hugely overlooked. Most people put in a very brief job summary, similar to a resume or a CV, depending on what part of the world you're in. Remember, content is king. You want to max out the space given for each position, write in a friendly, conversational tone while highlighting all of your accomplishments. Now, here's the big part people miss out on. Your positions are another opportunity to advertise yourself. Use your positions to sell. Don't use them as a resume or a CV. Don't talk about what you've done in the past. Talk about what you are doing now. Use your positions to sell yourself and your products and your services. So, for example, I own 2 businesses. Now, this is a little bit outdated, but I left the slide, or I shouldn't say I left it in place. I wrote the slide this way deliberately because we still provide those SEO services to existing clients. But ROI Media, it's now a consulting company. It started life as an SEO company 5 years ago. So the example I have here are my 2 businesses. I use my summary to feature sales training and the first position spot to feature my SEO business. So here's why I do that. Sales training is more profitable to me. I could easily get a 5-figure check just to show up and give a speech or do half a day of sales training or whatever, versus SEO, which is more of high maintenance kind of business. Results are not guaranteed and all that. So my most important thing, and you want to take your feature product or the product that puts the most money in your pocket or the thing you want to sell most, talk about that in your LinkedIn summary. Take number 2, the second most important product, service, or profitable thing that you want to sell, and make that your first position. So what the positions do, forget about the positions on LinkedIn profile in terms of filling out a resume or talking about past experience. Think of each position as its own separate summary. So you can write 5 or 6 summaries in your LinkedIn profile while all of your others only have one. My SEO company position, as you see here on the slide, does not say president. It is a compelling sales pitch complete with a case study. Now, here's the thing about LinkedIn positions. Like I said, everybody's using it wrong. Everybody's using it like a resume or a CV. LinkedIn allows you to list multiple positions, and since content is king, take advantage of this. Ideally, and from testing, we found that filling out 5 positions will get the most Google juice in terms of you showing up in Google search. It will rank you the highest within LinkedIn search itself, and it will get you found by your ideal prospects. The absolute minimum you want to have, minimum positions filled out for an effective profile, are 2. Now, like I said, I don't have 5 filled out. I've got 2 filled out because I don't need any more people trying to hire me. I've got too many as it is. But you want to have an absolute minimum of 2, preferably 3. Always keep keywords in mind. Even when writing about your past positions, think about what are your ideal customers searching for online. If you want a great example of someone who knows LinkedIn positions, don't do this now, but make a note to look up Stephanie Mellish, who works for Jeffrey Gitomer. She's got 4 or 5 positions filled out on her profile, and each of her positions are different job roles that she fulfills within Jeffrey Gitomer's office. So one is customer service, one is Gitomer certified speaker, one is Gitomer sales barista, because that's her title when she writes articles for his Caffeine Jolt newsletter. And so that's a very good example of someone who is doing this correctly. So like I said, don't do that now, and I'm not going to exit the webinar to pull it up on the web because we're pressed for time as it is, because I've got way too much information today. But that is a very good example, and I'll make a note in the email that goes out with the replay with a link to her profile. So contact info and websites. This should be a no-brainer, but once again, and nobody's doing it right, LinkedIn has a very important website listing feature that almost nobody uses. And here's what it looks like. Excuse me. When adding or editing websites in LinkedIn, always click on Other. It lets you customize the name. Now, everybody puts company website. Nobody looks at that. Company website, you think about what that means. It's a very, very boring, stodgy kind of, investor relations and press room and management team. Company website is not appealing. So if you click that other link on the dropdown when you put in your websites, it lets you type in whatever you want for the name. And so that's what I did. You see Never Cold Call Again here. You see ROI Media SEO to tell people what it does. Then that last one is interesting. It just says get free leads from Google. So you're a salesperson, small business owner, you're an independent professional like an attorney looking for more clients, and you find me on LinkedIn. If you see company website, you're not going to click on it because you picture that boring corporate website, but you see a link that says never cold call again. That is music to the ears of anyone who has to sell and generate leads. So you're going to click on it. If you're looking for SEO, search engine optimization, you're going to click on that second link. The third link goes to my Google Traffic Pump website, Get Free Leads from Google. And this is a course that is available online that tells you how to use Google Alerts and Gmail and how to set them up so that you get instant alerts in your inbox when somebody on the internet is searching for what it is that you sell. And so that goes from that link. It says get free leads from Google. Again, that's music to the ears of any salesperson who has to prospect. Then it takes them to a squeeze page. I collect your name and your email address, and then that person goes into your sales funnel. And so, like I said, forget about using company name or company website, blog, personal website. Personalize each of those to make sure that they are enticing titles. The other important thing about that is that Google ranks your websites based on not so much what's in the website. Let me go back a slide here, but the anchor text. So you see that blue text that says never cold call again, or that blue text that says ROI Media SEO. That's called anchor text, and Google determines what your website is about and what to rank it for, far less by what's on the website and far more by what the anchor text links to your website say. So by typing in titles for your websites that actually tell people and get people to want to click on them, Google is also going to rank them for those same names. So moving on to the multimedia part of your LinkedIn summary. If you see on the top of the slide there, you see the word summary, and to the right, there's a little blue box with a plus mark. It's called the Add a Link feature. So you click on that, and then that's at the bottom of your summary section. They move it around. It's gone back and forth between the bottom of the summary section to the top next to the contact info, so it constantly changes, so you have to look for it. But LinkedIn supports multimedia from a wide range of providers, from YouTube and SlideShare, and I listed those because those are the two I use, but they support a whole lot of others as well. So in my LinkedIn summary, I have a YouTube video promoting nevercoldcall.com. It's the same 30-second video on the homepage. It's the same 30-second video I've used in television commercials on Fox News and Fox Business and CNBC and other channels. And then right next to that, there is a SlideShare link to a PowerPoint presentation promoting my SEO business. And this is what it actually looks like. If you go to my summary and you scroll down to the bottom and you find that, there it is. On the left, you see that video. On the right, you see social media, the best way to waste 50% of your marketing budget on 1% of the returns. Clearly, you want to title things provocatively that get people's attention. What that presentation does is it talks about how SEO is far more, gives a much higher return on investment than social media marketing. And even though you need to do both, SEO and Google AdWords are definitely superior to that. And I will check that by reminding you that I do not consider LinkedIn to be social media. By social media, I'm talking about Facebook, Twitter, Google+, all these unproven solutions that nobody can quantify have ever made anyone money except for the owners of those websites. So that's what it looks like in the summary. The other one is volunteer. I do an increasing amount of volunteer work, involved with a lot of things with my Rotary Club. Had a good conversation with Dr. John Lott, who's a well-known author in the world of crime statistics, and we're working on some things. So I do a lot of volunteer work. Volunteer work will score you big points for a lot of reasons. And the point is, first of all, LinkedIn profiles allow you to enter any volunteer work you've done. This is another avenue to get yourself found by others who may have done similar work. So what you want to do is include any and all volunteer work you've done, and CEOs and other important people who've done similar work will have a common interest with you. So let me give you an example of this. I am just about wrapping up the book, The Habit Factor by Martin Grunberg, and something he talks about in there is that almost every CEO and high-level executive and high-income entrepreneur does volunteer work, or they sit on the boards of charities and they give advisement to those groups, and they do it without pay. And everybody thinks that they're doing it to look good, and that's not the case at all. They're doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. I found, in my experience now that I know a lot of wealthy people, they're the kindest and most generous people I've ever met, very contrary to the way the media likes to portray them. But the side benefit is that there's an unintended consequence that by doing volunteer work, by helping out, like I said, in my Rotary Club, working with some public groups like the work I was talking about with Dr. Lott, doing volunteer work at my daughter's school and stuff like that. The amount of networking that happens there is pretty unbelievable. So by doing volunteer work, you're not just going to make yourself look good, which should not be the case. But if you have done volunteer work, make friends with the people there. A lot of networking happens. You're doing it with honest people who you can trust, which is pretty good green flag if they're doing volunteer work in the first place. But most importantly, you want to put that on your LinkedIn profile because, for example, as a member of the Rotary Club, Rotary International, other Rotarians see that, they want to connect with me. People who see other types of work I'm doing with other nonprofits, they recognize that work or they support that group, they want to connect with me. So you want to make sure you do the same thing. Whether you help out with Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, or you volunteer with PTA, or it could be any number of things. You volunteer at an animal shelter. It doesn't matter what it is. Even list the groups that you give money to charity to. I have several that I give to automatically on a monthly basis. So other people who support those groups are going to have something in common with you, and that's what I'm getting to is the point here. It's about common ground, finding common ground with people. My favorite story about this is. Before I move on, let me show you real quick how this looks in LinkedIn. Once again, this changes constantly. Literally by the week, they switch up the way the profiles are laid out. But you want to find the one that says volunteering and causes, click on it, and you type in organization, role, the dates, and then put in a description of what you've done. And reason I talk about that is getting more connections. And so for the sake of time, I didn't put in hobbies and things like that, but you want to put in awards, recognitions, hobbies, because that is a great way for people who have common interests to connect with you. And again, my favorite story is when I had to hire an attorney in a very specialized field. I had it narrowed down to 3, couldn't figure out which one I wanted. My wife reviewed all 3 of their websites and said, hey, this guy's personal page said he does amateur radio for a hobby. That's something I was really into as a kid, into a lesser degree as an adult. And so we connected right away. We talked about radio. We hit it off, and we became fast friends, which was, if you've ever hired an attorney, I just hired a friend through the Rotary Club, again, proving that networking happens there as my new trademark attorney. And what you'll find is you get much favorable attention from your lawyers. They're working for a friend instead of for dollars when you have that kind of relationship. So it's really important. But all of this comes down to the central theme of this part of the webinar, and that is connections. So connections might be, or content might be king on LinkedIn, but connections are the proof. You hear all about social proof. Most famous example out there, if there's 2 restaurants across the street from each other, one is empty and there is 1 car in the parking lot, that's the owner's. Place across the street has a line out the door and the parking lot is full. Unless you're famished and you have to eat right that moment, you're going to the place with the long line, because the social proof shows you they must have better food, better service, better experience overall. The place that's empty must suck because nobody's going there. And so connections are the social proof on LinkedIn. Social proof matters in sales, matters in marketing, matters in personal life. And lots of LinkedIn connections create social proof. I made a lot of references to the book The Game by Neil Strauss in the terms of don't read about it, about the what I think is a pretty absurd concept of these guys who got together to learn how to pick up women. That's kind of pathetic in my eyes. But look at it as a sales training book. And in fact, the book Pitch Anything by Oren Klatt, I read that book on a recommendation, and I felt like I was rereading The Game, just changed around for business. And at first I was annoyed for Neil Strauss's sake because I met Neil and we've had lunch and stuff like that. But then I read some interviews with Oren, and he flatly admits he took The Game and he took the whole pickup artist thing and he simply rewrote it from a business perspective. And one of the funny things in the book, The Game, that these guys would do is they would meet unusually attractive women, and instead of trying to get dates with those women, they would befriend them and go out with clubs or with these women to nightclubs and bars and all that. And by having these attractive women hanging out with them, they had social proof, and other women wanted to find out who these guys were and wanted to meet them. So taking that back to the business and the LinkedIn world, having lots and lots of LinkedIn connections creates the same effect on LinkedIn. When you've got a huge amount of connections, people see you as important. They want to connect with you as well. Everybody likes a winner. Nobody wants to connect with a loser. If you've got 12 LinkedIn connections, you're not going to have a very easy time getting more connections. But if you follow this advice and get to that magic 500 number, which I'll talk about in a minute, then it's going to be very, very easy for you to get more connections. The more connections you have, the more important you appear, and more importantly, the more visible you become on LinkedIn. Because LinkedIn and Google rank you first, well, not really first, by an equal combination of how much content you have how much relevant content you have, and how many connections you have. Now, the other big benefit of connections is accessibility. So as you add direct connections, you build your network of second and third level connections. So somebody like me, if you connect with me, I've got near 10,000 connections right now. You connect with me, you instantly have millions of people in your second and third degree network. So one of the big benefits of that, you can now see their profiles. You can see their profiles. You can only connect and communicate directly with first level connections, but if you're in a group with someone, and I'm skipping ahead here a little bit, you can communicate directly with anyone who's a member of the same group. So if you see a second level connection of mine that you can now access because you're connected with me, you can view their profile, you can see what groups they're in, you can join one of the groups that they're in, and now you have direct access and communication to that person. So it's really, really, really important to do that. A really easy way to add connections without looking like you're spamming people is you can start with the people you may know box, currently visible in the right-hand column of your LinkedIn homepage. Again, that changes with the day. So it could be different by the time we hang up from this webinar today, so you want to look around for it. Then you want to click on that See More link on the bottom. What's going to happen is get pages and pages of people you may know. And the way LinkedIn figures this out, it looks at connections of your connections, looks at people you have multiple connections in common with. The best way to do this, I found, is on the smartphone app. So I have an iPhone, a lot of people have Androids, but whatever you're using, get the LinkedIn smartphone app, because what it will do is read from your email. And then it's a little Big Brother-ish, I know, but even though you're not giving LinkedIn permission to access your smartphone contacts and email, it does it anyway, and it will show you suggested connections based on your email. And I've reconnected with some really old friends and business associates who I completely forgotten even existed. Sounds terrible saying that, but it's true, just because my iPhone LinkedIn app suggested them. So if you do this on a smartphone app versus linkedin.com online, you're going to see a lot more relevant people. But what it does is it gives you lots and lots of suggestions of people you may know. But what you don't want to do, if you see that connect button with the blue plus sign below each picture, you do not want to click on that. Because what happens when you click on that connect button, it automatically and instantly, without you having any intervention, sends the default LinkedIn invitation. And one of the biggest rules in my very first LinkedIn webinar that I still carry through to this hugely updated, revised, and massively expanded 2015 version of the webinar is you never want to use the default invitation. If you remember to the very beginning of this webinar, and if you weren't here, that's fine. You'll get the replay in the PDF via email tomorrow. But one of the first things I said, it's a big survey was done of business owners and executives. They said they hate cold calling the most, but the thing they hate the most after cold calling is LinkedIn spam. So you never want to send a message or a connection request on LinkedIn that looks like spam, because it will get rejected. And if enough people flag them as spam, you can get your ability to make connections shut down. You can lose your LinkedIn account altogether. So you don't want to go down that road. What you want to do is click on the person's name to get to their profile. So if you go ahead and click on their photo or on their name, as you see here on this screen, and by clicking on their name, you can get to a screen that lets you write a personalized message. And so you want to take the time to do that, or you can go to a site like elance.com or fiverr.com, pay someone offshore, very low fee, $5, $10, $15 to go ahead and spend a couple of hours doing that. Now you want to connect with connectors. So as you well know, I'm not the only person on LinkedIn with thousands of connections. Far from it. There are probably hundreds of thousands of people on LinkedIn who have thousands of connections. But LinkedIn, what they did was they stopped showing the exact number of connections someone has, because it turned into what goes on with Twitter. Twitter, people set up automated software to auto-follow people who follow them, and it sets up this kind of snowball loop. You don't want to do that, because it's just a spammy, and it's an exercise, and I have more connections than you do kind of deal. So what LinkedIn does, once you hit 500, it will simply say you have 500 plus connections. And your goal is to get to that magic 500 plus number, because once you've got that 500 plus number, you've got the kind of the status and the social proof to say that you are someone, you're a connector. More importantly, people want to be connected to you, which will make other people want to connect back to you, going back to some of those other examples I talked about, like the whole Neil Strauss, the game example. So connecting with connectors. At the very beginning of the webinar, I showed you how to optimize your profile for maximum effectiveness and visibility in LinkedIn search. But you only show up in searches run by people in your first, second, and third levels of connection. So this is very important. If we're not connected at all, and I'm searching for, I don't know, an ad agency in Dallas that I want to use. Bad example because I've never used one, but let's say I'm searching for an advertising agency in Dallas and we have no mutual connection on any level, I'm not going to see your profile on LinkedIn search. By connecting with connectors and building your second and third level to millions, if not tens of millions of people, it has the result of building a massive extended network that will get your profile showing in searches for endless, literally millions of people out there on LinkedIn who are searching for what it is that you could sell to them. So let's talk about the important first message. I've talked about all these ways to get access to people, how to get found, how to find people. You got to reach out and make that first contact. So in one of my most popular blog posts, and I've repeatedly sent this out as an email, in my email newsletters because it's such a popular article. The world's worst sales pitch, I just sent it out recently, in fact, is, can you help me out and buy this? The absolute worst LinkedIn message, can you help me out and make an introduction? And a really horrible LinkedIn message is, can you please complete the survey? When I said I have 1,900 plus spam messages that are unread in my LinkedIn inbox, guess what? They all say stuff like that. Can you help me out and make an introduction? People I've never heard from, people I don't know, send me messages asking for a recommendation, even though I've never heard of the person, let alone done business with them and have any ability to give an honest recommendation. Same thing with surveys. People are spamming out surveys on LinkedIn to try to get people to connect with them. Now, surveys are a great marketing tool. I use surveys all the time. Before I do a new product, you've noticed I send out a survey and I literally ask, what do you want in the product? Because I'm not going to sell something you don't want. I literally ask my customer list, what do you want me to teach you? And then I create a product based on that. So you want to follow these guidelines. You don't want to send anything that might even remotely be considered as spam. So how do you get around that? How do you get around being seen as a spammer? Well, the problem with connectors is they're highly sought out on LinkedIn. And like I said, I don't respond to most messages because most are spammy or trying to get something for me for free. For that matter, I keep my personal email very guarded. Nobody gets access to it. My phone number I keep very highly guarded. It's on permanent do not disturb. Only a small list of people's phone numbers will ring through. If you somehow get a hold of my cell number, you're going to get a voicemail that says, I don't check voicemail, so don't leave one. And if you're not on my whitelist, I'm never going to know who you are, so don't waste your time. So people like me, connectors, very high-level prospects, we're very hard to reach, and we do it deliberately. And like I said, we don't respond to 90% of LinkedIn messages because most of them are spammy. They're trying to get something for free. Can't tell you how many spam messages I get. Somebody's local, they want to buy me lunch or dinner, and the first rule of a consulting business is there is no free lunch, there's no free dinner. If they want to pay, $1,500 fee to take up 2 hours of my time over dinner, that's fine, but it's not going to happen for free. So what you need to do is give value first. The number one rule in sales always is give value first. And carrying that onto LinkedIn, the number one rule in LinkedIn connecting is offer value first. You've got to offer value, and you've got to offer value first and have something valuable to give the person you're after, or they're simply not going to talk to you. So the best way to get favorable attention from a connector is to offer value. The best way to do this is to include in your introductory message that you like to refer business as often as possible. I know this technique works because when someone does it to me, I stand up and pay attention. Wait, this person could give me referrals. They could give me access to clients, new customers, new business, new avenues to market my company. So an example of that, the one I've used, is you see in quotes here, literally say, I like to refer business to others as often as possible, so please tell me a few highlights of your business and more importantly, who your ideal clients or referrals are. Going back 90 years, it's now 91 years to the original law of success and Napoleon Hill's teachings. One thing he repeats over and over and over again in his books and in his recorded lectures, and even some of them are filmed that you can get. I think some of them are on YouTube. You can find some actual Napoleon Hill footage from the 1950s. He says the best way to get people interested in you is to talk to them about the things that interest them. That's it. Don't talk about you, talk about them. and more specifically here, talk about how you can help them, why you want to help them, and ask them to tell you how you can help them. That's how you get in front of a high value prospect, in front of a connector, in front of someone who's in the position to either give you money and buy from you, or to introduce you to people who can make large purchases, become big clients, and bring more big clients to you. So in the sea of LinkedIn spam of this world of "can you help me out" messages, doing this will get you noticed. You will get replies from big connectors. Better yet, and maybe best of all, you will get referrals and introductions from connectors. Referrals are the best leads in the world. That's why I broke one rule. In one of my surveys, I asked people, what do you want to learn? And how to get referrals is pretty low on the list, but I still created the "they'll never cold call again" referral selling system, simply because referrals are the best leads in the world. And I want you going out and getting referrals, because referrals have an average of a 70 to 90% closing rate. So by doing this, you're going to get referrals and introductions from high value people, and that's going to make you rich. Let's put it that way. You can also request introductions from connectors, and with the confidence that you will receive them. So after you make this initial exchange, they respond back. They say thank you. You think of one or two names you can introduce them to, and then law of reciprocity kicks in. At that point, you have the right to request introductions to other connectors from them. So carrying on with this theme of the very important, the very critical first message to a big shot on LinkedIn, once you're connected to an important or well-connected person, browse their profile and then dig a little deeper. Browse their other social media profiles. Look at their Facebook page, whether it's their personal profile or their actual Facebook business page. Find them on Twitter. Look at their Twitter feed. What are they tweeting about? Find common ground. Maybe you guys have the same favorite sports team. Maybe you guys both like the same restaurant. Maybe you both have a Great Dane like I do. Maybe you're both members of different Rotary clubs. I mean, there are an endless number of commonalities that you can find. I actually did an exercise once where I logged in as a stranger. I created fake social media profiles where I wasn't connected to anyone. I did a little exercise in a workshop to see how much information I could dig up on myself, and it was downright scary. I didn't realize how much information is out there about me, and I did it inadvertently. And these high-value targets, high-value prospects have done the same thing. So snoop around Facebook, snoop around Twitter. If they've got a personal blog, read the blog posts. You will find personal commonalities, and you will find things you can mutually connect with to build a personal relationship. So forget about business. Start building personal relationships with these high-value connections. If the person is local, and I know 99 out of 100 people on this webinar are selling locally, offer to meet for coffee or for lunch. The 7 a.m. coffee, as much as I'm not a morning person, works every time. Important, busy executives, that's usually the only free time they have in the day. I tell you right now, as much as I hate getting up early, when I fly out to Charlotte to spend some days brainstorming with Jeffrey Gitomer, we meet at 7 a.m. because he's up at 5, and 7 o'clock is when he goes to coffee, and he's in the office before 8. And so here's why this works. First of all is the law of reciprocity. People feel an innate obligation to reciprocate when something nice is done for them. So by stating upfront that your intent in connecting is to share referrals, they will share referrals with you as well. The second rule and why this works, as we wait, there it goes, commitment and consistency. By making this commitment and then following through on it consistently, that's the big one. That's a big thing I learned. An example is in my Rotary Club. I dived in head first. I was super involved. I was like the star new member. And then I eventually did not win Rookie of the Year because we had our second daughter 6 months into my membership. And then, of course, everybody who's had a new baby knows how that goes. I literally disappeared for a while, sleeping odd hours and not having enough time to myself, let alone to any outside causes. But now that I jump back in, I'm kind of a star member again, and you need to do the same thing, commitment and consistency. After you make the commitment, you got to follow through, and you've got to follow through consistently. If you can do that, your business, your sales, your leads, and most importantly, your income will grow, and it will grow very, very fast. Third reason this works is social proof. So by building a large network on LinkedIn and showing that magic 500 plus number of connections on your profile, you become a desired person to work with. More importantly, when people see some of the people you are connected with, so I become connected with some very high profile people here in Dallas, this happened in reverse, but Brian Cuban, who is now, he's Mark Cuban's younger brother by 2 or 3 years. Everybody knows who Mark Cuban is, but Brian Cuban, and they all live right down the road from me. Mark Cuban, his two brothers, and his dad all live within a mile of each other here in Dallas, which is pretty cool that they're such a tight knit family. At least I think it is. But he spoke at our Rotary Club. We met. We connected on LinkedIn. Brian Cuban's backstory is he was a bulimic and a drug addict and an alcoholic for years. Finally figured out how to get clean, and now he teaches other men how to get clean. He unintentionally taught men because he went out and started writing books on bulimia and how he had body dysmorphic disorder, and everybody believes that is a female problem, and he was astonished by the fact that most of the letters that came in were for men who had this problem but didn't have the courage to come out and speak about it. So Brian has become this very well-known person in Dallas, locally in Dallas, I mean, on a level that his big brother Mark is known nationwide. So people locally see I'm connected to people like Brian. People nationally see I'm connected with people like Tony Robbins and Jeffrey Gitomer and Brian Tracy and all these big name people. And it gives me huge social proof and credibility. In fact, literally only a few months into starting my business in 2003, Tony Parinello reached out to me, author of Selling to Veto, who at the time was kind of where Jeffrey Gitomer is at now. He's kind of the king of the sales world at that time, and had me on his internet radio show. And that kind of social proof was really helpful in propelling nevercoldcall.com forward very quickly and into the big business it is today. The fourth reason is likability. People buy from those from whom they like. I used to think they bought from people they respect, people who bought status. All that stuff matters, but what's most important is that your prospects like you. And nothing makes you more likable to a high-value target, a high-value prospect, than offering referrals to a brand new connection who doesn't even know you yet versus the, can you help me out, or will you buy from me, or can you give me some referrals or leads nonsense that they hear all day long from people they don't know and that they don't want to know, to put it bluntly. Now, here's a really touchy subject I want to cover right now. Make sure that if you're going to do this, you do it right. Is mass messaging on LinkedIn. I generally don't recommend mass messaging on LinkedIn, but when you got 10,000 connections, sometimes there's no other way to do it. If I were going to pay somebody to sit there and send 10,000 individual messages about a new product, that would consume all the profit from the product, so it's not viable. But the problem is that nearly all mass messages come across as spam. So here's how to do it right. First of all, you never ever want to say hello everyone or hi all or good morning everyone. It makes it impersonal and it's insulting to a lot of people. And I get that. It's kind of a slap in the face that you couldn't say hi Frank or good morning Frank or hello Mr. Rumbauskas. You just said hi all, hi everyone. So right now I know you're just blasting out a mass message to me and that I'm not personally important to you. Comes off as very impersonal. Don't do that. If you have to put a greeting, just say hi or good morning. Or best of all, put no greeting at all. Just type the message and send it out. So that's my 2 cents. I'm going to keep it real quick because if you're going to mass message, if you have to do it, don't put a hi all or hello everyone. It's insulting to a lot of people. Now, your foundation in the strategies I'm going to get into now, and these are the more advanced strategies, including my LinkedIn stealth method that's become very popular with people who followed my LinkedIn training, is groups. LinkedIn groups are extremely powerful. Like I said, when people ask if company pages or personal profiles are more important, the bottom line is that the personal profile is infinitely more important than a company page. And the reason is that profiles and groups are where things link together. So like I said, LinkedIn groups are extremely powerful. The first reason is that by default, you cannot view the full profiles of those people who are not in your first 3 degrees of connections. And by default, you can't directly contact people who are in connections unless, of course, you use in-mail credits. And LinkedIn has changed their policy. You used to be able to send out LinkedIn credits, and if the person did not respond within 7 days, you got your credit back. Now, because there's so many complaints to LinkedIn corporate about the spamming that happens in LinkedIn, they've done the opposite. You get your LinkedIn credit back if the person does respond. If they don't respond, you don't get your credit back. So LinkedIn, and you probably don't even know about this yet because it's so new, but LinkedIn has introduced this policy to literally and specifically to prevent spamming on LinkedIn. They want people to know if you're going to waste in-mails on spam, you're not getting your in-mails back and you've got to buy more. And so here's why it's important to join groups. If you join the group of a person you want to communicate with, you suddenly have free direct contact with every other person in the group, even if they're not in any of your 3 degrees of connections. Now we get into social proof. Participating in group discussions raises your visibility. It hugely increases your credibility. I put up a new blog post recently, sent out an email about believability versus credibility. Both are important. The groups really raise your credibility, and then as you build personal relationships, your believability goes up as well. And point 2 does that in a very big way. Posting valuable articles and valuable content to groups really raises your believability, specifically when you do it without selling. You don't want to sell. What you want to do is add your web address, your name, your personal email address at the bottom of posts when responding to group discussions or when starting a new discussion or posting a new article. You can build relationships. This is another nice thing about groups. You can build relationships prior to going to group live meetings and decide if it's worth it to begin with. So my wife's mom's group, they've got a group. I've got some LinkedIn groups. Our Rotary Club is a LinkedIn group. So if I go to meetup.com and I'm looking for business networking groups in Dallas-Fort Worth area, there are over 1,100. And I need to look at that again because it's been over a year since I've done the search. But at the time, there were over 1,100 business networking groups on Meetup. So the cool thing with LinkedIn groups, first of all, see if they have a LinkedIn group, because if they don't, that's a big red flag in itself. But before you're going to waste $20 on lunch and $10 on gas and an hour drive time back and forth and the time spent at the networking group, go on their LinkedIn group and check them out. See who's in the group. And then on the other side of the coin, you can use that, and you can do this with Meetup too. See who's in groups, or make a list of target prospects, high-value people you either want as clients or people you want to network with or trade referrals with. Find out what groups they're in and then show up at those groups. So LinkedIn groups are really good for gaining intelligence to find out what groups people are in, where your high-value contacts are, whether a group is worth going to their live meetings, and you can use all of that to narrow it down, save yourself a whole lot of time and a whole lot of wasted money and aggravation. So the $1 million question I always get at this point is, what groups do I join? I'm gonna read this slide backwards. At the bottom, I say, and the catch I have to give you here, I didn't write it on the slide, is LinkedIn still allows only 50 groups, which is very frustrating. So going back to controlling spam, they don't want people to join thousands of groups and then use software to blast out articles to thousands of groups at once. There is a way to blast them out to all 50 of your groups at once, which I'm going to show you in this webinar, but you're only allowed 50 groups. So here's how I like to recommend people to use those 50 groups. Join 5 industry-related groups. You got to stay on top of your industry. The reason that I say this with all due respect to people who don't fit into the group, but the reason I prefer younger doctors and younger lawyers for the most part, even younger accountants when it comes down to the person who does my taxes. I think she's younger than I am. They're generally much more up to date because they've graduated school more recently. They've done continuing education more recently. You want to do the same in your industry. Join 5 industry-related groups. Stay on top of your industry. Know what the trends are. Know what the competition is doing. Know what big products are coming out. Know what people are asking for. Same thing with trade journals. I get... I mean, as much as a lot of the articles bore me, I received the Harvard Business Review. So when the CEO of a big dumb company wants me to come in and fix their marketing and do consulting with them, I can speak their lingo. I also get trade journals from what I do, marketing consulting and business consulting. I belong to membership websites where I pay a monthly fee for access to content. And LinkedIn groups are a free resource where you can do the same thing for yourself. Next one is 5 groups on topics you want to learn about. So great example. I just said I get the Harvard Business Review in the mail, and I read it, and I've ordered some of their books, which to me are as boring as tears. But if I'm talking to the CFO in particular, for example, of a big dumb company, it's going to make a big difference in being able to speak their lingo. This just happened on one of my mastermind group coaching calls yesterday. Or 2 days ago, I forget which. My schedule's so busy, I don't know what day it is anymore. But that was something that somebody was doing, was learning the lingo, or I think another mastermind member. The way it works is each meeting, and we have 6 to 8 a month on go to meeting. We're all on webcam so we could see each other. And each meeting, somebody gets what's called a hot seat, and they get anywhere from 15 to 20, 30 minutes to present their problem or their challenge. And somebody who's moving into a new field, or more specifically, new technology within his industry. And one of the other mastermind members said, you're going to want to get the trade journals of your target market and learn their lingo. When Dan Kennedy was hired to do the proactive acne, anyone who's out there who bought proactive products, I know my wife has in the past, first thing he did, Dan Kennedy's an older guy. He's in his 60s or 70s, somewhere around there. No offense to you, Dan, if you're listening and you're not in your 70s. But first thing he did was he went to the library and he subscribed to literally 100 women's and teen magazines. So he had to learn their lingo. He had to learn how teens talk. What's the talk of the day? What's the lingo? What's the current slang? He couldn't do marketing for an acne solution marketed toward teenagers till he learned all that. So that's where you, once again, for free, can do that on LinkedIn. Join 5 groups on topics you want to learn about. Again, if you're in B2B sales, you got to learn how to talk like a business owner. Join a group about business, finance, or accounting. Like I said, I get the Harvard Business Review to read that boring stuff. And if you're B2C, if you're a real estate agent or a mortgage broker and you're going out talking to people and promoting the tax savings of buying a new home or being a first-time home buyer, learn some stuff about finance, because last thing you want to do is start selling to a house to somebody who's been in the accounting world, and then you're going to look foolish because they're going to call you out on the stuff that you're getting wrong. So join a group about accounting or a CPA group and keep up to date on that stuff. Most importantly, where I'm going to focus on now going forward here, for those balanced, the 40 groups that you have left, join the 40 groups where your ideal prospects hang out. So I'm going to quickly cover the first half of this slide before moving on to how to do that. You want to join industry networking groups for your 5 industry-related groups, alumni groups of where you went to school, alumni groups of where you've worked. I worked at Sprint and at AT&T Lucent Technologies in the 1990s. By joining their LinkedIn groups, first of all, I reconnect with old friends who I used to work with or who I at least knew was in the same building that I was. I think we had like 3,000 people in the Sprint office where I worked in Las Vegas. But I also find people who say, oh my God, this is amazing. I know who you are. I've heard your name. I know about Never Cold Call Again. I had no idea that you worked literally in the same office where I work now. And then we make a connection and they buy my stuff because there's that sort of mystique that some of the stories I'm telling in my books happened in the very same office, maybe even the same desk where that person is sitting today. You want to join groups of real organizations that you belong to. So like I said, one of mine is the Rotary Club of Dallas. They have a LinkedIn group. In fact, I've become good friends with the person who runs that group. And we had lunch one day and I gave him some advice, and next thing he knew, he got an 8-week and very high-paying consulting deal based on my sales advice. So it's pretty amazing, some of the people that you not only will meet, but the people that you will be able to help out. And it's just a great feeling to do that. Now, the biggest leverage in LinkedIn groups is running your own LinkedIn group. Running your own group gives you the most leverage and the most control, very much like in Meetup. In my networking webinars that I teach, I talk about meetup.com is the best offline networking, almost a webinar, best networking venue. But the big step up from attending meetup groups is having your own meetup group and running it. I know someone who's making millions of dollars who started off like 10 years ago running a meetup group. He built it up, and now he handpicks and invites members of the group to do very high dollar coaching with him. And the guy's got a very, very high dollar business as a result of that. So running your own LinkedIn group gives you the most leverage and the most control. Biggest part of this, biggest red flag, biggest way that people screw up, you've got to keep it informational. Your goal is to help people. If you start a LinkedIn group and you start blasting out promotional messages and buy from me and here's our features and benefits and this, that, and the other thing, and I've seen it happen so many times. I joined groups that I thought were going to benefit me, that I thought were really about the sales industry, but the groups were being run by a sales author, someone who wants to be me, just pitching their own stuff. Nobody else is allowed to post. If you try to post in the group, it's disapproved on moderation. Don't do that. Have an informational group. Help people. If your target market is lawyers, figure out a way to have a LinkedIn group that helps lawyers. If you're selling software to medical practices, start a LinkedIn group, figure out ways to help those people. If you're a real estate agent, start a LinkedIn group. Invite all of your previous and current customers and clients, as well as all of your prospective ones. Give them information on what's going to help them. In the process of buying a house as a business owner, even though my businesses are 12 years old, they still consider you self-employed, even though on paper I'm the president of multiple companies. And so as I talked to different mortgage guys, it was the one who gave me the most information instead of just saying, here's the application, let me know when I can pick it up, or here's what we need. We need this documentation, this, that, and the other thing. The one who taught me about the industry and taught me what he does to get people who are self-employed approved faster and easier than even an employed person can do, and at lower rates and no closing costs and all this, he got my attention. So if you're doing mortgages, to teach that stuff to people. It doesn't matter what you're selling. Your goal is to keep it informational and to help people. So first people you want to invite to your LinkedIn group are the very best customers, the ones who love you, because they're going to talk about you. They're going to talk in the group about how great you are. The dual purpose of the LinkedIn group, like I said, is one, informational. You want to show your expertise. You want to help people. You want to give value so that people will want to give value back to you, whether it is buying from you, whether it is giving referrals. The other side of the coin is getting your very best customers in there, the people who love you because they're going to give you social proof. They're going to be living testimonials inside your group. So you want to invite all of your customers except your problem customers. We've all had problem customers. We deal with them here. Everybody deals with problem customers. All the way back to my first sales job, I could remember their names, sadly enough. I'm sure you can too. So invite all but your best customers. Wait, no, strike that. Invite all of your customers, especially your best customers, all but your problem customers. At the same time, invite all of your prospects. I said here, invite all of your best prospects, invite all of your prospects, because you want to let them hear how great you are, and you want them to hear it from your best customers, because that's where believability comes in. You may have more credibility on paper than some of your best customers, but if you're going to talk about how great you are, it's not believable unless it's coming from a customer. So when you start a group, you want to post regularly to your group. You want to post valuable content only. Your best strategy is to post to a blog and then repost to your groups for maximum exposure. You can use Twitter to feed to other social media properties. That's a little bit outdated. Twitter's taken away some of that functionality. The two best tools out there, the free or low-cost one is Hootsuite. Almost everybody's heard of Hootsuite. A new one is called meetedgar.com. That's the one I use now. It sets up a schedule. You enter your content, and what it does is it optimizes to send out social media content based on the times that the most people are seeing and engaging and sharing your content. As you probably noticed, I first write a new article, post it to my Never Cold Call Again blog, send it out as an email campaign, and then it gets posted on my Twitter, my Facebook, my LinkedIn group, all that stuff. So that's your best strategy, is post to your blog and then repost to your LinkedIn groups. If you're pressed for time, don't recommend this, but if you're absolutely positively pressed for time, if you're a CEO who's watching this webinar, you can designate up to 10 group managers or moderators to help you run the group. Best way to do this is to team up with a coworker or a referral partner. Like I've talked many times, once I figured out the strategies I teach in my Never Cold Call Again system, the next thing that happened is I had way too many leads, way more than I can handle, so I teamed up with other sales reps in the office. I'd say, here's a lead. I don't have time to get to it, but they're ready to buy. Go out and close it. And then we would do a commission split. So you can split the responsibilities of maintaining your LinkedIn group with another salesperson you work with or someone you network with, and then just do commission splits or split the leads that come in. However you work it out, just make sure it's someone you can trust. Otherwise, it's going to cause more problems than benefits for you. So let's move on to maintaining your group. You want to post articles in the news section of your group. You want to post articles in the feed, and you want to start new discussions. Start discussions in the form of a question. The best way to get people involved and engaged with the LinkedIn group is ask thought-provoking questions. Actively participate in open discussions. When other people who are members of your group start a discussion, you gain a lot of traction, build a lot of credibility by responding, replying to their posts, commenting on them. We have a private group for my mastermind coaching clients. When people post in the group, I always read everything that's in there, but time permitting, I always try to comment on their posts, let them know I'm paying attention and that I'm here for them. And they're always welcome to ask for my help in an upcoming online meeting. The other big thing is to invite outside experts to write articles for the group. Now, I know a lot of high-profile people who I can get as guest authors. If you're following these strategies, you're making these connections, you're going to meet a lot of high-profile people in your community or in your industry. If you're at a total loss, if you're brand new, you don't know anyone, go to a free reprint article site. Go to a site like ezinearticles.com where you get up to 25 or 30 articles a month where for free you can copy and paste those articles. The only requirement is you include the author's name and bio at the bottom. And no, this will not make people buy from those people. Instead, it will add valuable content to your group and it benefits you more than anyone else. The other thing you can do with LinkedIn groups, LinkedIn gives you the ability to broadcast blog posts, broadcast articles, blast out whatever media you create to all of your groups, as well as to your connections. Big caution, red flag here is every time you join a LinkedIn group, read their terms and keep a list of groups that do allow and do not allow this. I actually did get a warning once from LinkedIn. They temporarily blocked my ability to blast messages out to all 50 groups at once because I got a few complaints from some groups. So you want to join groups that do not prohibit this practice. For the most part, all 50 of your groups, or at a minimum, the 40 groups of your prospects hang out, should be groups that allow you to do this. Otherwise, they're not going to be as beneficial for you. 9 times out of 10, when a group does not let you put out as much of your own content as they want, it means the owner of the group is there to try to sell themselves and their own stuff and not allow other people to really participate. So it's not a group that's good for you anyway. Posting blogs and other valuable information to your LinkedIn groups builds your visibility, builds your credibility, and it builds your connections, and it does it really, really fast. So as you see this next slide come up here, don't rush to write this down because, like I said, the PDF copy of the presentation is coming to you via email tomorrow. You're going to get the video replay of this webinar as well. But if you copy and paste that little string there, that HTTP, into your web browser, and then copy and paste the link to your blog post or your article or whatever content you want to blast out to your LinkedIn groups, you do that, copy and paste that info, and voila, this box pops up. So on this next slide here, I took one of my most popular articles. It's called The Cold Calling Conspiracy. And I went ahead and blasted it out to, I started typing in the names of LinkedIn groups. I literally type in the A's, then the B's, and the C's, and the D's until you get all 50 groups in there. What's really works really well that I didn't put on this slide, but I should have, is that on the bottom you see you can put in an optional and additional subject and detail. So a good way to do this is for that optional subject line is to put in a question. So within the group, it's going to say, somebody's going to see Cold Calling Conspiracy by Frank Rumbauskas. They're going to see that little snippet of text that you see there below it. But then if you fill in that optional subject line, you could say, question, do you think that cold calling is really a conspiracy by companies to cut corners on their marketing budgets? Post your thoughts and comments below. And you have to type in those words, post your thoughts and comments below, to get people responding. But this gets people engaged. And as people get engaged, other people they're connected to see what they're doing, and they're drawn to it. There are threads like this that have been going for months and months. My friend and fellow author Mark Joyner is brilliant at this. He's not really that active on LinkedIn, but if you follow him on Facebook, he's very, very good, very brilliant at posting really provocative questions that will get people posting comments. And 3 months later, the thing is so active, it will still show up near the top of my Facebook news feed with 400 or 500 comments posted and still going strong. So when you blast out to your groups, fill in on the bottom that optional subject and detail line and say, do you think blank, 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 and always finish it with, please post your thoughts and your comments below. It gets people engaged and it gets people interested. And most importantly, it draws attention and draws more people in. So growing your group. Starting a group isn't enough. You got to keep it growing. You've got to water the flowers, just like that flower pot you see there. So you want to ask all of your group members to invite their colleagues and their LinkedIn connections. Add a blurb about the group and a link to your email signature. So all of us have our website link, our title, our phone number. I don't have a phone number, but most people, you should have a phone number in your email signature. Add a link to your LinkedIn group. Say, check out my LinkedIn group or get XYZ content at my LinkedIn group at this link. So you want to do that, put it in your LinkedIn signature. Now, LinkedIn carries very, very, very powerful Google weight. In the SEO world, it's known as Google Juice. That's the slang term for it. And LinkedIn carries very popular, very powerful Google weight. And so your profile, your LinkedIn profile, will appear at or near the top of search results for searches on your name. As Gittimer first said, and I've reiterated many, many times, whether you like it or not, when you walk out of a prospect's office or hang up from that initial phone call from a prospect, or even send a cold email to a prospect, the first thing they're doing is Googling you. So what do you want them to see? Do you want them to see little or no information or even negative information? Or do you want them to be drawn to your LinkedIn profile that is full of recommendations? LinkedIn recommendations serve as extremely visible testimonials for you. For that matter, several of the testimonials on the nevercoldcall.com website began life as LinkedIn recommendations. So what you want to do, or I should say what you don't want to do, is use LinkedIn directly to ask for recommendations. When you're logged into LinkedIn, if you go to somebody's page or profile, there is a link there to request connections. You'll see it on your own profile somewhere on that top menu bar. As I said, they always switch it up. Can't tell you specifically where it happens to be today or where it will be tomorrow, but it's there. Make it personal. Call people to ask for a LinkedIn recommendation. Maybe email someone personally to ask for a LinkedIn recommendation, but don't use the automated request a recommendation tool on LinkedIn. There is an application for it. There's a time and a place for it. I'm going to show you in just a few minutes how to use it properly, but as a general rule, you don't want to do it. Second thing, be prepared to write recommendations yourself and to simply let customers approve them. Most people are too busy to do the writing themselves. I'm one of them. If you want a LinkedIn recommendation, please don't ask unless we know each other or you're in my coaching group or something like that. But if you want a recommendation from me, the best way to do it is to say, here's a recommended one, here's one that you could use. Please edit as needed, and then go ahead and feel free to post it as a recommendation. Another thing that works, again, it only works if people know you and know who you are, is using the law of reciprocity. Write a recommendation for someone else first and then sit back and wait for them to respond in kind. Because more often than not, they will. If they don't, then gently and kindly ask them to reciprocate. Don't use that word, but ask them if they would be kind enough to give you a LinkedIn recommendation. LinkedIn status updates. This is a no-brainer. When you're logged into LinkedIn, there's always that blank box at the top of the page where you can post a status update, let people know what you're doing, post content. Use it to keep your LinkedIn network informed on what's happening. Post to all of your new blog posts, your new articles. There may be news stories that are relevant. There's a technique called newsjacking, as it's known in the internet marketing world. What newsjacking does is it uses third-party news stories to prove that what you've been saying all along is correct. So if you're on my webinar, unless you just joined my list yesterday, and I don't mean that as an insult because I know there are people on the webinar who literally just signed up at nevercoldcall.com yesterday, but I used the study from the University of North Carolina that showed or eventually proved that 80% of B2B decision makers are literally inaccessible from cold calling and absolutely positively will not buy from a cold call. I repeatedly used the Baylor University study that took a group of something like 1,100 salespeople, tracked their activity over a period of time, and found out that it takes 7.5 hours of cold calling to get one qualified appointment. Now, you can get a lot more appointments than that in 7.5 hours, but by qualified, they mean a person who has the ability to buy your product or service, has the financial means or the credit to do it, is in an active buying cycle, and is ready to buy now. That doesn't mean they're going to buy in 6 years or a month or in 2 years, because that's not a prospect, that's someone brushing you off. So they found it takes 7.5 hours to get a qualified appointment. If 1 out of 3 of your appointments close, you could do the math. It proves why cold calling is not viable. I repeatedly cite these university studies because it is third-party proof that my claim that cold calling is dead is true. It validates everything I've said, and you can use similar news stories, similar news media to validate that everything you're saying is true. So you want to post to those third-party news stories. Like I said, in the marketing industry is called newsjacking. You want to post specials. You want to post promotions. You want to post other deals that might get potential buyers off the fence and buying from you. And you need to post updates to all of your connections, to all of your groups, to all of your specific people in your network. But what's most important is you have the ability to separate this out. So you could post only to groups, only to the public, only to specific connections. So you may want to have a sub list of your prospects and a sub list of your customers. Because if you're blasting out today that there's a new free installation promotion this week only on your product, you don't want the people who signed a contract yesterday upset and angry and demanding that they get their deal changed to include the free installation promo. So you want to be very careful about who you're posting promotions to, and LinkedIn gives you the ability to segregate that out and make sure you're not showing promotions to people who recently bought and might be upset. Now here's how to find your target customers, target prospects, target referral partners, whoever your targets are on LinkedIn. So this is one of my favorite examples because I used to live in Phoenix and I used to be in advertising sales, so I use this one over and over again. Let's say you live in Phoenix, you're looking for people in advertising sales, either to check out your competition or to find new referral partners. The way you do this is one of the Google site, I think Google search operators they're called. A lot of people don't know these, but if you put something in quotation marks, it will find only search results that have those two words in that sequence. If you use the site : operator, it will only find that search phrase on a website. If you just put in a word like I did there, Phoenix, it will find anything on that website with the word Phoenix, doesn't matter what order or sequence. So search for advertising salespeople who are in Phoenix on LinkedIn. It's site : linkedin.com, advertising sales in quotation marks, and then the city Phoenix outside quotation marks. And you'll see the Google search results that come up here. This is a bit dated. This is an example I've been using over and over again, but the concept doesn't change. And so, of course, the first search result you see there out of 67,700 is the one we want: advertising sales, Phoenix, Arizona, LinkedIn profiles. So if I click on that, these are the people who come up in that search result. We see people, the first one is a second-degree connection I can view his profile, and we have one shared connection. The second one is a second-degree a first-degree connection, so I can not only view his profile, I can communicate directly with him. The third one is in mutual LinkedIn groups. It says that we have two shared groups, so I can, even though I'm not in first, second, or third-degree connections with that person, I can communicate directly with Carrie through LinkedIn groups. The fourth one down, second-degree connection. So everyone here, because I've got so many LinkedIn connections, all of the search results are accessible to me. Only one person is not within my 3 degrees of connections, but since we're in 2 of the same LinkedIn groups, I can still direct message this person without using InMail. So here's how to leverage those search results. First of all, join their groups within limitations. Like I said, you only get 50 groups, but if one of those people is a very high value target, whether it is someone you want as a customer or someone you want as a referral partner, join one of the groups they're in and use that leverage to connect directly. You can connect directly with them, again, using personalized messages. Never click the automated connect button. Always use the option to send a personalized message. Look at who their connections are. Mine those lists of their connections for other leads or other referral sources. Even connect with your competitors. I just talked about guys like Jeff Gitomer and Tony Parinello, who I'm friends with. They're technically my competitors on paper, but we're still friends and we still help each other out. Best example is when I sold phone systems for AT&T Lucent, we were the highest cost provider. The benefit of that, we were the highest capability provider. So when somebody came to us and they said, I got a lead, and someone said, yeah, I got one of your flyers or whatever the case is, or I found you on LinkedIn, and we need to buy a phone system. We're opening an insurance agency. We're going to have 4 lines, 7 telephones, and we need voicemail. And then I do the math on my head, and I say, well, average $1,500 a station. You're looking at, I don't know, let's see, what is that, $12,000? And they gasp for air and say, oh my God, we don't have $12,000 budgeted for a phone system. We've got $4,000. I say, okay, great. My friend John works at Samsung. He can provide you a very capable phone system within that budget. Let me go ahead and get him on the other line and make an introduction. And so I'd give that person a lead. We do a commission split. Likewise, somebody finds my buddy at Samsung on LinkedIn, or they get his marketing or something he used from the Never Cold Call Again system. And they say, we need this complex, advanced, voice interactive, this, that, and the other. And he says, wow, I would love to have you as a customer, but here at Samsung, we don't have that capability. Tell you what, my friend Frank can do that. Let me get on the phone, make an introduction, see if we can get him on the phone, and you guys can set a time to meet. Then again, we do a commission split that way. This is why you got to be friends with your competitors. I meet so many salespeople who won't do it. They don't want to be friends with their competitors because they're afraid that their competitors are their enemies, or they wrongly view their competitors as some kind of an enemy. This is dead wrong. Your competitors are your friends, and by finding the mutual gaps that you can fill for each other, you can make a fortune by trading leads with your competitors. So that's the example of how I did it in real life selling phones. Think about how you can do it in real life working with your competitors. So finding new prospects, start with the end game. Like I said at the very beginning of this webinar, and I'm reiterating it here before I go into my favorite method of use on LinkedIn, start with the end game. Who are your ideal prospects? Who are your best customers? Who are your worst customers? Do the old Ben Franklin. Take a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, make a list of your best customers, make a list of your worst customers, the problem customers, figure out the characteristics, the personality features of each, and then define your target customer. I'm going to skip this one because it's been deprecated. I forgot to delete that slide. Or no, actually, no, LinkedIn Alerts. I was thinking of LinkedIn Answers. LinkedIn Alerts still works. LinkedIn Alerts is a very, very, very powerful way to stay ahead of the curve and to snag new prospects literally instantly as soon as they become LinkedIn members. So when you do a search on LinkedIn, you'd want to do an advanced search because we're so pressed for time here. I had 90 minutes allotted for the webinar followed by Q&A. But as I worked on the webinar this past week, I realized I had to take up the full 2 hours of content. So I'm going to blast through this. I'm not going to demonstrate a LinkedIn search because that's kind of no-brainer stuff to click on advanced search and figure out how to do a search for LinkedIn. If you're able to register for this webinar, you're able to figure out how to do a LinkedIn search. Let me put it that way. But what you want to do is when you run a LinkedIn search on your ideal prospect or your ideal customer after you figure out who that person is, currently it's on the upper right-hand corner of the page. It could have changed. It may change in the next hour. Like I said, LinkedIn changes a lot, but you can save a search and specify how often you want LinkedIn to send you an automated email to say, hey, John Doe in Phoenix, who fit your ideal search criteria, just registered on LinkedIn. You can immediately say, hey, I was browsing LinkedIn today and I noticed your profile, and yeah, maybe that's a little bit deceptive. You may want to tell them you've got an automated search set up. You may not want to, but I would go in and say, hey, I found you on LinkedIn. I see you're a brand new member. I'm a pretty seasoned LinkedIn user, been through some advanced LinkedIn training, which is the truth because you're going through it right now. I'd love to help you out. If I can help you navigate LinkedIn, or if you have any questions I can answer, do not hesitate to contact me. It's a really, really fast way to build some goodwill with somebody who is likely to buy from you. So with that in mind, I'm going to go into my LinkedIn stealth method. Like I said, this is one of my most popular, most effective ways to really come in under the radar and snag ideal customers and then get testimonials and recommendations in the process, like I'm going to show you how to do right now. So, stealth method number one. By now, you've defined your perfect customer. Then you want to narrow it down by niches and industries. Maybe you already sell into a specific niche or industry, but maybe you're doing something broad. Like when I was selling phone systems, it was a very broad audience. Every business has a phone system, even some big homes, some mansions that people build. Most houses over 7,000 square feet have a business phone system because it's the only viable way to do it in a house that big. So let's say you want to sell dentists. I use dentists as an example because selling marketing advice, direct mail, design, postcards, internet marketing, dentists are a very popular audience of people who buy that stuff. Well, the highest value target within dentistry are cosmetic dentists. Cosmetic dentists spend a fortune. I'm working with one right now who went out and bought his wife a Bentley and liked it so much that he wrote a check for another one for himself 3 months later, just to give you some idea how much money cosmetic dentists are making. So they're very high value targets. The more specific you can get, the better. So the more you can drill down your niche, the more results you're going to get from using the stealth method. So the next step is start searching for relevant groups. Go to groups on LinkedIn, then go to groups directory. Like I said, this may look different by the time we log off today. And then you want to search. So you type in your search phrase cosmetic dentist. You want to search within all LinkedIn members. You want to use open groups. I'm going to show you why you want to use open groups. The reason, very simply, is to use this stealth method, you've got to be able to post without moderation or without being one of those groups where only the group owners post, and as a member, you're only allowed to respond. So you want open groups only, and then you want the relevant languages. Now, I'm in the United States. I'm not bilingual. Slowly but surely, my daughter's learning Spanish at school, and she watches Dora all day long, so I'm slowly picking it up. But for now, I still speak English. Like I said, we got people all over the world, people in India, Hong Kong, South Africa. Well, that's an English-speaking country, but you get the point. So whatever languages you speak, you want to choose that within the search results. And so I click search, and the first search result that came up was dental practice management. It's an open group. There are 25 active discussions this month, 866 members. 116 of the members in the group are somewhere within those millions of people within my 3 degrees of connections. And so this looks like a high value group. So we're going to dig further into the group, click on view. Then we get to the inside the group, click on the summary page. It says, welcome, there are 866 members. You could be member 867. The group was started in 2009, so that makes it, 6 years old. So it's a seasoned group. It's got age behind it. It's not going anywhere, so that adds even further to the value. 6% of the group are in the greater New York City area. No surprise, it's the biggest metro area in the U.S., one of the biggest in the world, so you can expect to see that in groups. Seniority in the group, if you can read that, my PowerPoint designer, she likes to make stuff look kind of cool and artistic, but it makes it harder for you guys to see. If you look at that seniority graph, the vast majority are senior and owner. Then to a lesser degree, we have entry level, not necessarily the people we want to work with, but below that, CXO, and then director. Those are people we want to work with. And so since it's an open group, we can click join. Voila, now we're in the group. You're a member of this very, very high value group that is rich with your high value prospects and targets. Immediately start participating in your groups. That's step 3 of my LinkedIn stealth method. Now, no selling yet. I typed it on the bottom of the slide, but I'm going to yell it. No selling yet. Do not start selling right away, or you and your post may be marked as spam, or worse, you can be penalized by LinkedIn itself. You can have your ability, you can temporarily get blocked from groups, which I foolishly did once when I started experimenting with this. You can even use your LinkedIn account if enough people complain about you. So don't go down that road. You want to work the group like any other. Participate in discussions, start discussions, answer questions. Remember, most importantly, you need to give value anywhere and everywhere possible. Absolutely no selling yet at this point. Become known in the group. Become a pseudo-celebrity in the group. Make friends in the group. You need to do that before you jump into step 4. Before starting step 4, you have to have established high value and a high level of trust with your group and believability. You want people to believe what you're saying. At that point, determine an irresistible offer, something that those whose trust and respect you've earned will jump at. Best source of this is go to the bookstore, or even better, go to Amazon if you're a Kindle person like me, or if you don't have time to go to the bookstore and you like your Amazon Prime and it shows up at the doorstep in 2 days. Literally type in the words irresistible offer on Amazon, and you're going to see the book, The Irresistible Offer by Mark Joyner, come up. Don't scramble to write that down right now. Like I said, you get the replay of this webinar, but go through that book and it will guide you through the process of creating an irresistible offer that the people who've come to believe you and trust and respect you will literally jump at. They will jump at the chance to take up your offer. So in the phone business, we would offer a free consultation. We made it believable. We made it clear that we weren't coming in. 99 times out of 100, when a salesperson says we can do a free consultation, what it really means is first appointment, that we're going to come and try to sell you something. We offered a real free consultation where we analyzed their phone system in a call center or in a business to find lost calls, figure out how much money those dropped calls, people hanging up because they were on hold for too long, calls that got dropped while being transferred, figure out how much money that was costing the business, and then find ways to fix it and restore and replace that revenue. Some of the ones we've done in my internet marketing business were a free Google AdWords review, or even a new Google AdWords campaign. So I'm going to give you an example here of one we did. Our goal was to use a free AdWords review or consultation for dentists, or even a very simple creation of a free Google AdWords campaign in exchange for a LinkedIn recommendation. So it was a trade-off. It was a quid pro quo. I'm going to give you a free service that would normally cost dollars to actually buy it. And in exchange for that, you promise to give me a free LinkedIn recommendation. And once again, you only post this offer, this value proposition in your groups only after you've established enough value and trust that people will not only believe it, and they won't mark it as spam, but will actually respond to it. So here's what we posted in the LinkedIn group, myself and my sales team at the time. Get your site to the top of Google in 48 hours. There's been a lot of talk in the group about how to find new patients and grow your practice without spending a small fortune on expensive advertising. And I put that in there because, like I said earlier, dentists do tend to spend a lot on advertising. And a lot of it doesn't work, and this is deliberate on the part of ad agencies. As you now know, we're a certified Google partner company specializing in lead gen for dental practices like yours, using Google as a source of those leads through targeted search engine marketing, in this case, Google AdWords pay-per-click. Now, I know, and you know this from participating in the group, I know that many of you have already tried AdWords and found it to be a waste of time and a large drain on your time. You're right, it is, unless you know exactly what to do and how to do it. That's where we come in. We're extremely experienced and fully certified by Google to provide real measurable results using AdWords. So here's what I'm offering to a handful of people today. If you have an AdWords account, whether it's live or not, I will do a full campaign review and analysis. I'll tell you everything that's been done incorrectly. I'll tell you what needs to be done to correct it, and step-by-step actionable items to build a very low-cost yet profitable campaign that will quickly grow your practice. If you don't have an AdWords account yet, we'll do extensive keyword research, set up your campaigns under the budget guidelines you provide for us. And I can even give you a $100 coupon for free advertising courtesy of Google. This will put your ad and your website at the very top of Google within 48 hours, which is sure to grow your practice quickly. All I ask in return from you, and here's where that trade comes in, all I ask from you is that you provide me with a solid recommendation for my LinkedIn profile. Unfortunately, since I'm not charging for this, I have to limit myself to 3 or 4 people, and scarcity comes in here now. I have to limit myself to 3 or 4 people since the work is time consuming and I'm not being paid for it. Shoot me a message, either website URL and your contact information, your Google AdWords account number if you already have one, and we can get started right away. Sincerely, your name, your email address, your phone number. So stealth method number 5, watch your inbox closely, have your phone nearby, because it's going to start lighting up. Have message and email alerts turned on within LinkedIn. If I go back a slide here where I said on that second to last paragraph, I have to limit this to 3 or 4 people since the work is time consuming and I'm not charging for it, you automatically build in scarcity, and scarcity is a proven method to get people to take action and contact you and buy from you. So watch your inbox closely because you're probably going to get more than 3 or 4 responses. Reply back to people immediately, thank them for contacting you, give them a time frame to complete the offer, and get all the information you need. What you want to do here is under promise and over deliver. If you know you can get it done in 2 days, tell them it's going to take 5 and deliver in 2 days. It's going to make you look even better in their eyes. It's going to bolster the LinkedIn recommendation they give you, and it's going to exponentially increase the odds that they will buy from you for real and not just take up this free service. Get into action right away. Like I said, exceed their expectations, complete and deliver the work before your promised day and time. Once that's done, now you can use the automated recommendations mechanism within LinkedIn. Go to Profile, go click on Recommendations, and go click on Request Recommendations, and then put in the people, the names and the profiles of the people you've provided the service to. And at this point, now you can start selling. It's time to start selling to those to whom you've given a free service or a free consultation, and send them a report or a proposal detailing the products or services they need. So at this point, you've given them the free service, you've given them the benefits, but going back a step here, the second point, sell them something. Give them a proposal telling them, look, we've done this for you, but here's what you really need to succeed in the long term. And as always, headlines and bullet points should be the pain points and the third-party proof. So like I said, doesn't necessarily have to be testimonials. You can cite studies like I do with cold calling. I talk about the Baylor University study, the University of North Carolina Business School study with third-party proof, include graphics or screenshots. I told you about the cold calling ones in the SEO web marketing business, 2 of the ones we use over and over again. One is from Web Marketing 123. Search engine optimization is now the top lead source for both B2C and B2C businesses. The other one is from SEO Moz, which is an association, a paid service that SEO companies use, so they're independent and unbiased. And they say, on average, search engine marketing now delivers 80% of leads to a business at a cost of only 15% of the overall marketing budget. So it's that kind of third-party proof, that newsjacking, as it's called, that's really, really, really going to bolster your position. So stealth method number 7 in your report, give solutions to each of their problems that you can find. I like to use proposable.com to actually send the final report. The reason why it's much better than sending a piece of paper or sending an email or emailing a PDF or a Word document, because it's digital and it lets you look at exactly how much time the prospect spent on each section. So let's say Mr. Prospect spends 20% reading about option 1, 60% reading about product 2, and 20% about product 3. Guess what? The section they spent the most time reading about, the solution they spent the most time reading about, is the one they want to buy. And here's a quick little screenshot. Again, all artsy-fartsied up by my designer, but you can still see it, of a shot from Proposable showing how many total views. So the proposal was viewed 6 times. It shows you how many people it was forwarded to. It shows you the dates and times it was opened. And that tells you the interest level and more specifically what they're interested in. So nailing the big guns on LinkedIn. Here's another big plus on LinkedIn, is getting to the big wigs. The major rule in sales, the word Seymour comes from Tony Parinello of Selling to Vito fame. Seymour's is an acronym for see more. So these are the people who always want to see more. Can you send us an updated proposal? Can you send us references? Can you send us more information? Can you send us more financing options? They always want to see more. So the big rule, and this stands very, very true, is never work with a see more. Always go to the top. Go right to the top. Go directly to the CEOs and start from the top down and work with the bosses. Now, what LinkedIn does, gives you a largely unknown stealth method to directly access CEOs and other big shots of the world. And it comes down to the fact that over 90% of LinkedIn users sign up for LinkedIn with their personal emails. They don't use their work email address. They use their personal email addresses for a large variety of reasons. Now, you have to have one of the paid LinkedIn subscriptions to do this, but I think the cheapest one's only $20 a month. And if you're serious about LinkedIn, there's no excuse to be using the free version anyway. So assuming you are using one of the paid versions, this actually just changed before I put the webinar together. What you want to do is go to your connections on the main menu. In the slide, it says go to the lower right-hand corner. Right now, it's on the upper right-hand corner, and there's a little settings icon. It looks like a little gear, a blue gear. That's the way it looks today. For all I know, it can go back to the way it looks here tomorrow. But go to connections, click on that little gear, and you're going to see an option to export contacts. So once you've exported the contacts, you can export them to a CSV file, to an Outlook file, to an Apple Mail contacts file. You're going to have first name, last name, and email address of all of these contacts. Now, going back to that survey I talked about at the very, very beginning of the webinar, a decision maker's most hated form of contact by a salesperson was cold call. Second most hated form was LinkedIn spam. But when the survey asked, what is your preferred method of contact by a salesperson? What will usually lead you to meeting with that person and buying? They also had a personalized email introduction. So by using this little stealth method of exporting your contacts and getting their email addresses, keeping in mind that over 90% of executives, high-value targets, high-value decision makers and buyers use their personal email address and not their work address to sign up for LinkedIn, you now have their personal email address and can access them via the most favored way of introduction by a salesperson, which is via a personalized email. The personalized email, when you get the replay, you can go back and review the rules of that first contact on LinkedIn. Rules are the same. And the first email that goes out should follow the exact same rules of engagement as the first message on LinkedIn. Ask about their business. Tell them you like to give referrals as often as possible. And if you're up for it, even if you're not up for it, I've been known to get up at 6 when I have to go to an early meeting, even though I'm usually getting up about the time these meetings are ending. If it's a high-level executive or a busy person, invite that person to 7 a.m. coffee. And not only will successful executives and CEOs, not only are they up that early, but on top of that, they're going to be impressed that you are too. And frequently, it's the only free time they've got during the day to meet with you. So it's a very, very easy way. And No Gittimer teaches people, especially new salespeople, if you're brand new to sales, you don't know what else to do for cold calling. The answer is networking. Go to 3 networking groups a day. Do a breakfast group, a luncheon group, and then a happy hour group. Don't drink at the happy hour groups. Let the other idiots do that. Stay sober while you make contacts and make connections. But you also want to take the people, especially the important people you meet, and say, hey, this networking group starts at 7:30 on Tuesday. Why don't we meet for coffee at 7 o'clock ahead of time and get to know each other a little bit and find out what kind of referrals I can send you and vice versa. And so that's the way you want to do that in making that initial contact and reaching out to these bigwigs once you've exported their personal email address from LinkedIn. So let's talk about some more LinkedIn tools before we wrap it up and try to squeeze in some Q&A time here. Use LinkedIn to find the correct decision makers within a business. So here's a beauty. I have not talked to you about setting up a LinkedIn company page because, like I said at the very, very outset, LinkedIn profiles are where most of the action is at. In my LinkedIn courses, my more advanced training, the LinkedIn selling system, LinkedIn lead machine, talks about how to use company pages a bit more in depth because there are applications for it. But since we're limited to 2 hours here, I want to focus on profiles as far as what you're going to set up. But where LinkedIn company pages come into you in finding prospects and generating leads is go to a company page, go to the overview, and use that to find the right decision maker for your product or service. So my example here is me looking for prospects to sell sales training services to, or marketing consulting or lead generation services. So I picked a company entirely at random. I just logged into LinkedIn. I found a company that I don't know. Went to their company page, went to the employee page, scroll down the page, the fourth one down, manager of business development. So of the 5 people who show up on this page, that's going to be the person I'm going to want to reach out to and talk about selling lead gen services, sales training, marketing consulting, sales consulting. You can see that that person is in my 3rd degree of connections because I've got so many contacts on LinkedIn, which means I get to look at his profile. If he were not within my 3rd degrees, I would not be able to see his profile. You can see, I see now that the company is a printing company, manager of business development, entire imaging solutions. That is his current position. So at this point, I can make a connection. I could look at what groups he's in and join one of the same groups and communicate directly. If my connection request is accepted, I can export my contacts and get his personal email address. Variety of ways you can connect with people once you've got that information and made that connection and found that person. The next step is prospecting on LinkedIn groups. This is another way to reach out to people on LinkedIn. Look up your very best customers, your ideal prospects, and join the groups that they belong to. Why? Because their peers and their colleagues, meaning more of your ideal prospects, will be in the same groups. I can't say it enough, and I talk about this in all of my training. If you want to know who your ideal prospects, your best prospects are, look at your best customers and your current ideal prospects, the prospects you're after, and look at who their peers are. The people they're collaborating with, conferring with, connecting with on LinkedIn, those are going to be their peers, and those are going to be more of your ideal prospects. So build trust and value with your fellow group members. Once you've done this, you can message them directly. There's no in-mail requirement for fellow group members. In-mail has become a lot more challenging since LinkedIn has implemented those anti-spam techniques where if the person doesn't reply, you lose your in-mail. There's a lot more motivation to only send in-mails to people who are going to reply back. Another way to prospect and mine for leads from your ideal customers and your ideal prospects is to look at their LinkedIn profiles. View the profiles of your very best customers and your ideal prospects. Check the viewers of this profile also viewed in the lower right corner of the screen. You're going to see that person's peers, and again, more ideal prospects for you, and so on and so on and so on down the line. So what I did here is I went to my own LinkedIn profile. People of Frank Rumbauskas' profile also viewed Jeffrey Gittimer, Anthony Robbins, Brian Tracy, all people who do what I do, speakers, authors, consulting work. The next one, you're going to see one of my company pages. 5th one down is Kevin Wilkie. Kevin Wilkie, a lot of you know Kevin through me because we have similar type complementary businesses. We're not competitors. Our businesses are very complementary, so we've helped each other out in a lot of ways. Ali Madalat, 2012 American Business Awards Marketer of the Year. He is a good friend of mine. Tom Beal, former client, now a speaker, author, person of importance in his own right. Same thing with David Fry, Deepak Chopra, of course, at the bottom there. You see Bob Yeager. So the bottom line here is, with the exception of that one random company page of mine that shows up, 9 out of 10 of these results on this page are going to be people that, if I'm a good customer to you, here are 9 people who are going to be great customers as well, who you can reach out to on LinkedIn and have a very, very good prospect list to start working using the techniques I've talked about here in this webinar. So in closing, to reiterate, and I can't stress it enough, LinkedIn is the hands down best online sales prospecting tool and social media site. The only reason I'm calling it a social media site is because that's what most people do. LinkedIn is not a social media site, in my opinion. It is a business networking site. It's not only the best business networking venue online, it is the best business networking venue, period, in the world, hands down, no questions asked. That cannot be challenged. It cannot be compromised. Nobody can refute that. You now have a long list, and then, like I said, there's been a lot of content here. You have a long list of action items to get to work on right now. The good news, you don't need to memorize all of this. Like I said, within one day, you're going to get an email with a recording and a presentation, a recording of this full video presentation, along with a full PDF copy of the slides that you saw here today. If you don't receive it by close of business tomorrow, please wait until tomorrow evening, because emails frequently get delayed due to technical problems. Wait until the following day before you contact support or try to contact us and find out where your recording is. So with that in mind, bear with me here as I sip hot tea, as my assistant keeps refilling here, so I could preserve my voice, because I get to do this 2 more times today, to open up here for live Q&A. So let me get to the questions box, find my cursor. All right, let's start going through some questions here. Let's see. A lot of people are asking if they're going to get the slides in the all that. Let's see. Somebody said, what is Stephanie's last name? So let me answer to the group. So Stephanie Mellish is her name. She works for Jeffrey Gitomer in his office. If you go to her LinkedIn profile, what you're going to see is that she's done a brilliant job. And she did this even before I started my LinkedIn training, so she didn't learn her from me. She probably learned her from Jeffrey. You'll see her summary talks about what she does in Gitomer's office in Charlotte. But I think she's got 4 positions filled out last time I looked, and 4 out of 5 of those positions are set up so that it talks about what she does. So one of them is Gitomer certified speaker. One of them is customer support rep at Gitomer. One of them is sales barista, which is her title as a newsletter contributor for his Caffeine Jolt newsletter. So that's the person whose profile you want to look up. And I'm going to keep that in mind for future webinars. Let's see. Dee asked, your everything website, go to other, where is this? So if you go to your LinkedIn profile, let's see if I could pull this up actually so people get to see it here. Let me go to linkedin.com. And let's pull that page up, and looks like I'm logged out, so let's log in here. And let's zoom the page in a little bit. Wasn't prepared to do any live stuff here, but no problem there. And yes, my credit card was frauded, so I have to put the new credit card number in. Thank you for reminding me before I lost my LinkedIn account. So if I go to profile, let's see, let's look at my profile. And if I go to edit profile, and if you go to contact info here, and I click on contact info, and let's wait for that screen to load up on your end because I'm monitoring on my other computer from home. Let's see, click on contact info. Then if I go to edit my websites here, There's a really bad delay on GoToMeeting today. Okay, there it is. So if you look at this, I can make this company website, which nobody clicks on. So if I save that, what you see in my profile now is company websites. Let's say, but if I change that back, oh, there we go, close it out. So look at my contact info. Somebody sees company website, not very enticing. So that's where it is. You go into your contact information, click on the website part, and then change the website title. So that's how you do that. And to answer your question, yes, this is a very basic LinkedIn training today, but that's one of the basics I wanted to cover today because that's one of the most overlooked things that people don't do correctly on LinkedIn. So let me get through some more questions here. Let's see. The new one, let's see. Eduardo asked, what is the new service you're using instead of Hootsuite? That is meetedgar.com. So let me send that to everyone here. Meetedgar.com. Brilliant service. Like I said, what it does is it figures out when people are viewing your social media, when it's optimizing. You can enter virtually every social media account. I think they still have a very short waiting list, but it's only about 5 days. So if you go to the website now, request an invitation, typically takes about 5 days before you can set up an account. It was pretty cheap. It's not as cheap as Hootsuite, which is $10 a month, but I think it's about $30 or $40 a month. And you can enter your LinkedIn, your Twitter. You can enter multiple sub accounts. So for example, I've got multiple Facebook groups, multiple Facebook pages, multiple LinkedIn groups, and then you can schedule all of that. Octavio asked, why do you like LinkedIn if Mark prefers Facebook? Mark does not actually prefer Facebook. I'm talking about his personal profile. Mark is a big hobbyist and sort of follower about nutrition hacks and fitness hacks. And so he doesn't talk about his marketing work there. It's personal stuff. But I pointed him out because it's a very good example of how someone uses provocative questions to keep a discussion going and going and going and going. And quite honestly, Mark does it for fun and just to agitate people more than anything. And he has a lot of fun with it. But that's a good point. And to answer the other question, because I know it's going to come up, this is his book that you want to get, The Irresistible Offer. And let me send that to all in the chat box. So go to your bookstore, go to Amazon, get The Irresistible Offer by Mark Joyner. I don't care if you're in sales, marketing. I don't care if you're trying to get new members to your church. That's one of the must read. If I had to make a list of 5 books that you got to read as a salesperson or as a marketer, that's one of them. That is a can't miss. You got to read that book. So let me go on down to other questions. David said, do you have a company that will do all of this LinkedIn work for us? I do not, but that is something that I am expanding my business into. So if you would send me a direct message on LinkedIn, I can let you know when we're ready to go on that. Cody asks, I don't know what my niche is. I'm a hypnotist. I've written 5 books on how to be more persuasive. So I'm good friends with Scott Sandland, who you've probably heard of at hypnothoughts.com. And this is really good because niching is a very, very big deal. The narrower you can make your niche that you're selling into, the more money that you're going to make. So I'm trying to think of some examples here. So there's a guy named Joe Polish, and he teaches marketing to carpet cleaning companies. There's a guy named Mike Crow. He teaches marketing specifically to home inspection companies. There's a guy named Rory Fatt. He teaches marketing specifically to restaurants. And I can't think of a better last name than Fat for a guy who's teaching restaurants how to get more customers in. So those are just 3 examples. So what Scott does, of course, hypnothoughts.com is his online, his internet business or website. I don't even know if it's a business or if it's a free site. But Scott's specialty is working with drug rehab. So he works side by side with doctors, drug rehab clinics to help heroin addicts and coke addicts and people who are hooked on prescription painkillers and even people who just want to stop smoking or quit drinking to help get off of that. I've met other people who specialize in, I've heard of Dr. Stephen Gergovich, who works with Andrew Weil, who is the famous doctor, the guy with the big white beard, to remind people of who I'm talking about. And he focuses on helping people get over anxiety and panic attacks through hypnotherapy. So I think if you take your skill in hypnosis you got multiple options. You could take your hypnotherapy practice and do what something like Scott has done, and narrow it down to working with drug rehab and quitting smoking. You can do something like Dr. Gergovich has done, focus on helping anxiety and stress, which, with this economy, business owners like me, the economy is improving, but the current group of clowns in Washington, D.C., I mean, I got to keep raising prices and cutting, offshoring customer service because they make it more and more expensive. Or I say raising prices. You don't see tax increases on your end, but as business owners, we do, even though they claim that they have not done that. So the market for stress relief is exploding. And then your third option, if you've written 5 books on persuasion, start an information marketing business. I mean, a great place to start that. Contact me directly. And I can give you an invitation or get you on the waiting list for my mastermind coaching group. Or you could join, look for your local Glazer Kennedy chapter. Just Google Dan Kennedy. I'll type his name in the chat box here. Google Dan Kennedy. There's a local chapter of his organization within most cities, and just go to their local meetup group. They're typically $10 or $20 to sign up and go to their meetups, and you're going to get a whole boatload of information on how to start an information marketing business. On that same note, I would still tell you to get Mark Joyner's book and read that, because that's going to answer a lot of your questions as well. See, I got 5 minutes here before we get cut off. Hey, Frank, good to see you. And Frank asks, Frank is one of my mastermind members. Frank asks, what would you suggest focusing the information from this presentation on my personal profile or my company page? I would definitely apply it to your personal profile. I'll have more training available on company pages. There's some of that in the LinkedIn selling system. But like I said, the personal profile is where most of the action happens. So that's what you're going to want to focus on, is your personal profile. The other thing I forgot to do when I logged into LinkedIn here is to actually pull up Stephanie's profile so I could show you guys how she's used her positions and save you the time. So there's a great use of a headline: double tall, no fat, no whip sales barista at Stephanie Mellish. Oh, she's changed Gittimer to Stephanie Mellish. Interesting. So current positions, one is for self. She's the double tall, non-fat, no whip sales barista. She's Gittimer certified speaker. She's Gittimer certified facilitator. She's a no whip sales barista at Train One. So she's got the same position here at 2 different companies, one under her own name, one at Train One, which is one of Jeffrey Gittimer's companies. And then, of course, manager. She's got a volunteer position here. Women of the Year, Charlotte Leukemia Lymphoma Society. So that's where I talked a lot about where volunteer work will make you a lot of contacts. So just want to show you that real quick, how she's got using her experience, that's what they call positions now. I'm still using the old term positions, but using that to showcase all the different things she's still doing now. So all of these say 2013 through present, 2009 through present, 2009 through present, 2009 through, well, this one says through October 13, but I know she's still there. So that's a good way to show how you can effectively use multiple positions. And then, of course, people who viewed Stephanie also viewed Jeffrey Gittimer, Jeffrey Gittimer's daughter Stacy, Michelle Joyce, myself. So I'm the 4th one there. That's kind of cool. Andy Horner, who is the CEO of Ace of Sales. Contrary to popular belief, Gittimer is not the president of that. Andy is. Here's some other people who work at Gittimer's company, and then Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy, who also show up on my profile. So let's see, 3 minutes to go. Let me find a good one here. 9 times out of 10, people ask the same questions over and over again, or they ask the same questions. Let's see. Greg asks, I have a LinkedIn profile pertaining to my current business. I want to change my business in very near future. Should I create a whole new LinkedIn page? Or does LinkedIn allow such? LinkedIn does allow that, but I don't recommend creating a separate company page and then focusing on that for your new business. You need to have the second company page, but not as your primary focus. You want to focus within your profile. So if you're going to have 2 businesses going on at the same time, you can take the one you're focusing on, put that in the summary. Let's go to my own profile. I think I could just click on profile and not see the edit view. Let's do that. If I go to my own LinkedIn profile here, and it's being slow because go to webinars hogging bandwidth. You see 2 current positions, actually 3 current positions now since I've updated it. And then if I go back down here, so summary, here's my summary, and then there's a multimedia, a couple of presentations, another slideshow I've added. Then under experience, this is current, and here's a recommendation for that. Here's another video pertaining to that. And then this one is current as well. There's 11 recommendations for that position. This is current as well. So I've got 3 current positions. So that's what you want to do, is have them in importance of descending order. Do that within your LinkedIn profile. So hopefully that answers your question. Somebody keeps asking, can I become a guest blogger? That is off topic. Becoming a guest blogger is up to individual blog owners. The answer to that is just Google for blogs that pertain to your business or your industry. You go to the contact page and then just ask the person if you can contribute guest content. A lot of bigger blogs have a page where you can actually apply to become a guest blogger. And there's a big thank you from a lot of people here. Thanks all of you. Great one from Gregor here. Good job. Thanks, guys. 2 hours are up, so let me say goodbye before GoToWebinar kicks us off. Like I said, you will get the full replay recording and the PDF copy within 24 hours. So if you don't get it by close of business tomorrow, please hold off at least until the following day before contacting support. And as always, check and double check and triple check your spam box, because a lot of replays, for some reason, typically wind up there. So thank you again. Congratulations for taking action today and participating. Most importantly, get to work, optimize your profile. Last time I did this, I had people emailing saying they had exponential increases in the people contacting them requesting a